A year ago tomorrow, 9 servicemen were killed in a deadly amphibious assault vehicle training exercise. Today, their families and attorneys gathered to demand justice. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto.
And I'm Jesse Pagan. The families are suing BAE Systems because they say the company that manufactured the AAV knew there was something wrong with the equipment and did nothing to fix it, leading to the 9 deaths.
News 8's Kirsten Holmes is following this story for us. She joins us live with more. Kirsten.
8 Marines and 1 sailor died in that military exercise, and their families are now banding together to say they don't want anyone else to have to go through a tragedy like this. Meanwhile, their attorneys say unless BAE Systems makes some serious changes, this tragedy could happen again.
There's times that I just want to run and hope to find him so I can hug him again. I still don't sleep because I'm waiting for a call that doesn't come.
Cries from the mothers of brave servicemen who were killed when their AAV sank in a military training exercise from Camp Pendleton.
And he said, well, I'm a Marine, I'll meet the water fist race. That was my son. He always had a sense of humor.
No training in the world would have got that 5,000-pound hatch open.
The attorneys representing the family say BAE Systems knew about the defective hatch door for decades without correcting the problem. And the company continues to make defective equipment that is still being used by the military.
There are risks you accept when you send your kid into the military, but not that they're going to get knowingly defective equipment.
And because of the Ferris Doctrine, families cannot sue the military for injury or death.
There would be a very technical legal argument that the government's immune, and the current law says that that's correct.
That leaves these families looking to hold BAE Systems responsible, and they demand the AAVs and other vehicles BAE makes for the military get fixed ASAP.
We don't want another AAV going in that water until there's a way out for our servicemen and women.
While these families continue piecing together what's left.
There's a hole in my family I can't fix. When they took my son, they kind of took my life.
We reached out to BAE Systems for comment on the lawsuit that will be filed in the next 24 to 48 hours. Here's what they had to say. They offered condolences for the family's loss, but they say they're not in a position to comment on the ongoing litigation and that the U.S. Marine Corps has conducted an investigation into the matter. They then directed us to the U.S. military for further questions. Okay, so there's something interesting to note here. According to a congressional report, over a 14-year period, the number of service members killed in training exercises doubles that of those actually killed in action. So as this lawsuit makes its way through courts, we'll continue to follow this story for you. Back to you.
Thanks, Kirsten. A member of the USS Bonhomme Richard crew is being charged with that catastrophic fire on board the ship. You remember the ship burned 4 days last July. The Navy says the sailor was part of the crew when the fire broke out. The unidentified sailor has been charged with aggravated arson and the willful hazarding of a vessel. Damage from the fire was so extensive that the Bonhomme Richard had to be decommissioned.
A second snow leopard is now suspected of having COVID-19.
The San Diego Zoo says an in-house test showed a positive result for the mate of a snow leopard we first told you about earlier this week. So far, neither animal is showing any concerning signs of illness other than coughs that are diminishing.
The city of Chula Vista is now asking everyone to wear masks inside city buildings again. The city made the change today as COVID-19 cases spike within it and across the state and country. It's not a mandate for now, just a recommendation whether you're vaccinated or not. Mayor Mary Casilla Salas says the move is precautionary as she hopes to continue to push forward out of the pandemic.
We just need to get a handle on this. We do not want to go back to the days where we have to shut down businesses and shut down our parks and our other recreational facilities.
Mayor Salas also pleaded for people to think of others and urged those who haven't yet to get vaccinated.
Israel is now the first country to greenlight a COVID-19 vaccine booster shot. The country made the move as President Joe Biden says we don't need a third dose at this point.
But doctors say the history of vaccines shows we will eventually need one. News 8's Abby Alford talked with vaccine researchers to find out who will be the first to get the booster shots and when.
Neither the U.S. or the EU have approved a COVID-19 booster, and the World Health Organization says that there's not been any proven evidence that a third dose is needed. And if so, who or when will they get it? So there are a lot of questions surrounding booster shots, so we set out to get some answers with some local vaccine researchers. Israel has become the first country to approve a coronavirus booster. Pfizer says the effectiveness of the vaccine drops slightly 6 months after the second dose. It also says in August it plans to seek authorization for a booster. Still, the U.S. says that there is not enough evidence to prove fully vaccinated Americans need a third shot.
I think right now the jury's still out on this.
Dr. Greg Lemke, a professor of molecular neurobiology laboratory at the Salk Institute, the same institute named after Dr. Jonas Salk, who developed the polio vaccine, says we'll most likely need a booster. The question is when from the time of your second dose.
The timing on that, not so clear, probably on the order of a year.
Despite White House officials predicting that vulnerable populations such as seniors will need a booster, today President Biden says that no one needs a booster for now.
I think you could make an equal argument for seniors 65 and above because they're at much higher risk from the disease.
Dr. Mark Sawyer is a pediatric infectious disease specialist at Rady Children's Hospital, and he also serves on Governor Newsom's COVID-19 vaccine safety panel. He says you may not have to wait a certain amount of time to get the booster.
It doesn't really matter when you get the booster dose. Your immune system will remember the first dose, and then if you get or second dose, and if you get a booster on top of that, it mounts what we call a memory or amnestic response.
Well, there's been some debate on whether you can have Pfizer if you got Moderna or J&J. Doctors say it will still target the protein spike.
The first boosters we would be talking about are basically the vaccines that we have now.
While the U.S. has the vaccine supply for a third dose, America and other vaccine-abundant countries are being criticized for not sharing their doses with poorer countries, with people who haven't even had their first dose.
Thanks, Abby. A man caught on camera driving onto a sidewalk and clipping a News 8 vehicle Monday afternoon is now behind bars facing felony charges.
News 8's David Gofferson has been tracing the man's moves that day and found people who say the man got into an argument in Ocean Beach just hours beforehand.
Hey, just go. I am OB low.
This is 51-year-old Michael Sewell in Ocean Beach on Monday morning, just a couple hours before he ended up in downtown San Diego in a standoff with police. Officers say he wouldn't come out of his car after evading arrest, so they fired pepper balls into the vehicle, and that's when Sewell took off. News 8 photojournalist Bruce Patch was right there. He caught it all on videotape.
And next thing I know, he's coming down the sidewalk, and I grabbed my camera and went backwards like this, and he ended up plowing right through here, right past us, and people just scattered.
The driver took out the rear bumper of the News 8 vehicle and nearly took out people on the sidewalk as well.
I'll tell you what, the people who were standing right here, if they didn't move quicker, they'd be dead.
It's all right.
Earlier that morning, Sewell got into a scuffle in Ocean Beach, according to witnesses, who say his pit bull attacked a smaller dog.
And he pushed the owner of the small dog, and that person fell down. And then another person came and tackled him for pushing that person down. And I joined in to restrain the guy because he was definitely becoming aggressive.
Navy veteran Clint Kent recorded this video after the scuffle was over.
I didn't attack nobody. I was trying to get my dog.
Kent says police were called, but officers did not arrive in time.
You know, when he sped off and almost hit a gentleman with a giant longboard crossing the street, then we knew he needed to be stopped.
Sewell is now behind bars facing felony charges of evading arrest and assault with a deadly weapon, as well as misdemeanor counts of hit and run and resisting arrest.
San Diego police arrested Sewell last night, and it was only a matter of time. After all,
That vehicle he was driving allegedly down the sidewalk came back with registration and license plates that came back to his name. Carlo?
David, does Michael Sewell, the man in this case, have any kind of a criminal history that we know of?
He did. He had a couple misdemeanors on file in San Diego County, including a DUI arrest earlier this year. But the thing is, if he had just surrendered, he likely would have only been charged with misdemeanors in this case as well. Now he's facing a string of felonies, and he's due to be arraigned tomorrow. That is a significant difference. All right, David Gofferton, thanks. The San Diego County Sheriff Bill Gore says he will not run for a fourth term. The 73-year-old has served as sheriff for the last 12 years. He joined the department back in 2004 after 33 years with the FBI. Sheriff Gore's current term ends in January of 2023.